in this house, the most dire, horrible events took place.
You are not content with the stories. Somebody's lives come. Be my victim.
Through watching scenes of violence, through watching scenes of transgression, through watching scenes of horror. There's an enormous amount of sort of abattoiral excess.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
What do you reckon, chat? Did you get an enormous amount of abattoiral excess in this week's film? How are you doing, folks? It is episode 104 of Double Feature Horror Show. I hope you've had a fantastic week and I hope you enjoyed doing your homework. This should have been pretty easy to get your hands on. I gather this is just on YouTube, just in its entirety.
Yeah. It's called Film Flicks or something like that. They put a whole bunch of stuff on the platform, which presumably is either sort of out of the realm of copyright or it just isn't really strictly looked at. But yeah, HD, YouTube, mwah, beautiful.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Obviously, you know, we applaud a legally purchased copy of every film we review, but sometimes Neil Mohan just overlooks a film on YouTube in HD in its entirety, and you've got to love him for doing that. Hey everyone, I'm seeing a new face there, Moon Cherry. Hey, good to see you. First time in the stream, and you are very welcome. I hope you managed to do horror homework. If you didn't manage to catch it, I don't know if you know this already, but I'll say this for everyone, especially people who are new, who are watching on catch up. I announced the horror homework for the next week at the end of each stream, and I'll also post about it on YouTube and on Twitter. So if you want to find out what we're reviewing in the next week, you want to get time to watch it in advance, take it in and fully enjoy the discussion, and occasionally tell me I've got a massive detail wrong, or point out that I never remember the name of any single character, then that will help you do that, getting your horror homework done in advance. Hey, John Goris, hey, Marina, and Mima Murgut, good to see you. If there's anyone else who's new tonight, say hi. It'd be lovely to say hi. But the next person I'm going to say hi to is, of course, my wonderful co-host. He's not going to blast you on the internet, because his mama taught him better than that. It's TCG.
I am surviving.
It was that, or Will Smith don't got to cuss in his raps to sell records, but TCG does.
Yeah, so F him and F you too.
Yes.
Do you think I give a damn about my Grammy?
Well, half those critics can't even stomach you, let alone stand you.
I know, right?
I can give you like one sentence and you get it.
We have a high success ratio.
We do. I thought I'd make up for it after last week.
Although, mind you, trying to give Destiny's Child line to Harrian back, he'd have never got that.
He wouldn't. Zoomers don't get it. They don't remember. They aren't ready for this jelly.
Exactly. Well, she did it again.
This is a bit of a treat. I've been looking forward to this. Obviously, I'm the coolest horror tuber around, and I don't mind admitting that I was really excited to cover this. This is our first Amicus Films production. How cool is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how cool it is either, to be honest.
Yeah. I don't know anything about Amicus. So this presumably yeah, I mean, well, in terms of Amicus, I suppose you're going to go into it in a little bit more detail, but is it just like the whole sort of almost like anthology style? Oh, well done, John. That's brilliant.
That's lovely. That is a strong pun game.
But yeah,
right there.
is it kind of like storytelling sort of style films or?
Yeah, sort of.
Okay.
They're a production company that were basically rivaling Hammer. And I've got a little presentation I'll go into, just introduce you to them. I am, you know what, guys, you might have noticed something. If you've been following us this long, you might have noticed that I haven't actually covered a Hammer horror yet, in any detail. I'm a little scared of Hammer horror. I still feel I don't know enough about them. And honestly, weirdly, I've only seen about 5 of them, I think, if that. So I feel like Hammer horror is still a gap in my knowledge, and you can probably hear me say Hammer horror is a gap in my knowledge a year ago, because I've just managed to avoid them. But Amicus, their competitor, I've seen a few more of, and I'm quite happy chatting about.
So am I kind of thinking that Amicus are kind of like the Pepsi to Hammer Horror's Coca-Cola?
Yeah, they're like
Are they the
they're
second?
the Mace to the Jay-Z
Oh
of
my
Hammer.
god, you're really throwing them out. I would have gone Amicus of the Mace to Hammer Horror's MC Hammer, but
Oh, I like it. Did you see Nelly recovered?
Nelly what?
Nelly, he's recovered. I saw a photo of him recently, and the plaster is gone.
Oh
He's
no! Oh
recovered.
wow! Oh fantastic! Oh, that's great news for him.
How many
Yeah.
Zoomers do you reckon we've completely alienated?
Probably a large portion of them.
Oh dear.
They probably walked in here thinking that we're going to be talking about horror, not like early 2000s rap references. This isn't a hip hop stream, guys. Don't worry.
No. I keep them guessing. Oh dear. Right. Well, we should get on to it. Short and sweet as we do. But before we do that, you know what we got to do on YouTube? We'll get some shilling out the way. TCG. Is there a shill, or is there sort of a build up, a sort of foreshadow to get us excited?
There's a couple of things I actually want to announce. Actually, so I am currently
let's go
working
for
on a
it.
video at the moment. I did post it on. I did put out a community post the other day. Covering the story of Joe Metheny, the barbecue burger butcher. The script is taking a little bit longer than I was hoping, because there was some. As I actually knew nothing about this story. It was recommended to me, but I was very familiar with the infamous picture of Joe Metheny in his prison garments doing the old face, like big grizzly bear kind of guy. But this story is actually a lot wilder than what I imagined, and there's a certain narrative of the story that if you go and listen to anybody else talk about this story, whether it be Bailey Sarian or there's another guy called Twisted Minds, they will talk about pretty much the story from the perspective of Joe's confession, which was in December 96. But one thing you'll learn about Joe is that he's a serial killer, obviously, but he is also a serial liar, and some of the things that he says don't quite line up with the facts, and I've deep dived into that. And I just want to give a quick shout out as well while I'm here to the Misery Machine, who do a podcast on Spotify, YouTube. They both were really helpful in actually helping me find some of the sources where the information that isn't typically talked about was available. So massive shout out to them. The other thing I also want to mention as well, with the quiz that I normally do on the last Friday of each month, that's still going ahead, but I'm going to be mixing it up a little bit. So we're going to be moving away this month, at least, from the sort of standard quiz format, and we're going to be sort of adopting a bit of a game show feel to it. So I am taking inspiration this month from the game show that sort of ran from sort of like the mid 2000s to the late 2000s called Golden Balls, hosted by Jasper Carrot. If you look it up on YouTube, There's whole episodes there to get an idea of it, but it's a really good game show, and the risky thing about it as well is that people will be eliminated from the game. So once you're out of the call. But yeah, I will announce more when I've got that more ready. But yeah, at the moment the priority is getting the video out for you guys, because you've been waiting for a month now, and yeah, that's me.
I like it. And in fairness, gotta say, the effort videos, I'm always here for them. And I always think it's good. Get the best video out, even if it's a bit late. Because
Yeah,
bless them, so many people come back and then they just do a bit of a binge, and they didn't know it's a big gap. You know,
exactly.
we gotta get the balance. You know, we want to have something out prompt for people, but also, you know, quality is king.
Kind of taking the Nick Crowley approach, quality over quantity. And the thing is, I could go through. I could just adopt the sort of narrative that most true crime YouTubers have adopted with this story and just get it blasted out. But I know that there's more to it than that. There's even there's timeline discrepancies as well, and I'm just going to be clarifying some of those in the video as well. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting this one out.
Nice. I will say, folks, if you don't know, TCG does the research. He is a true crime channel that really looks into it, and he's corrected quite a few things that other channels have got wrong. So he is well worth following if you haven't done that already. I've got we're gonna have to do a topic about true crime, because I've got a theory about it, and I was thinking about doing it this time, but then I thought, you know, give you a bit more warning, and we should do an Amicus one. But want to get into it, so I'll just do a really quick shill, folks. If you want to support this channel, you can do super chats, or if you want to support the channel and provide a way for me to give you a little bit of reward in exchange for that, you can join the channel as a member, either here or on Subscribestar. Both of those are going to get you access to exclusive videos and exclusive streams. And because we're doing a lot of upcoming TV anthologies, I've decided, like, we're having to do bonus streams for members to cover additional episodes. So now is a really good time to join the channel. And otherwise, there's going to be something hopefully coming out this weekend. Maybe I'm going to try, because I'm afraid to say I did a bit of hate watching. And yeah, I've fessed up to Harry. I'm going to fess up to Connor, and I'm going to tell them I did some hate watching.
What did you hate watch?
The Midnight Club.
Oh, okay. I've not seen that. I've not heard it.
No, it's from Mike Flanagan, who we love. We're big Mike Flanagan fans here. And I thought I'd give it a go. It is an anthology. I thought, hey, this could be something we cover at the sort of final anthology arcs, really modern stuff. I'm afraid it's, oh, no. It's oh dear. So I might put out a quick video about the issues with that. I try to avoid a hate watch, but I'm going to try and blame Waifu. She really wants to finish it. I've been sitting there just sort of saying, this is so bad.
So who's in it then? Who's in this?
Well, it's Mike Flanagan, so it's a load of his regulars. You've got
okay.
Zach Gilford, who is a protagonist of Midnight Mass. You've got the unforgettably named Igby Rigney is returning. He was the younger brother of the protagonist, and yes, his name is Igby Rigney. And yeah, and his love interest, I can't remember her name. She's back, and that's nice to see, because she was good in Midnight Mass, but she didn't get as much to do. And a few other of his regulars, Samantha Sloyan, who is always there as kind of like a secondary female character who's fantastic. So it's a lot of his regulars, but it's a lot of new people. And unfortunately, he's not soloing this one with directing and writing.
Right.
And when he brings people in, that's when you tend to get some dodgy stuff coming in. So unfortunately, that's what we've got here.
I don't know. It feels like to me that kind of Mike Flanagan has, from what I've seen in terms of the chronology of it, there's a bit of a slide. By the sounds of it, Midnight Club will continue that trend.
I think it's tricky, because I think in some ways Midnight Mass is his most consistent work.
Right.
And I did like it. I've got my issues, but I still liked it a lot. But yeah, Midnight Club, it got hit with I think he's obviously had a lot of pressure or wanted to just be a lot more blatant in his messaging, which is unfortunate. So,
Right.
and his co-creator Leah Thong, she wrote and produced. She wrote one episode of Haunting of Bly Manor and produced it. And her big problem is like she was writing historical characters, but she writes them with a 2023 mindset.
Ooh.
And it's like, don't write someone in the 17th century if you want them to talk like someone from the 2023. And even writing people from 1994, she is giving them 2023 current day. This is current year attitudes, and it's
Right.
yeah.
But I see where the problem lies. Then,
yeah. I will share my thoughts, but that is a long shill from me. So I will quickly move us on to the topic. And I realise I should share my presentation because I haven't done this yet. Give me a moment. Do you want to talk to people for a second, TCG? While
let's talk to the chat. How are we doing? All right. How are we doing this evening? Are we all right? Are we doing good? Have you subscribed yet? Have you smashed that like button? Have you done that yet? Let me know, because you better have. Otherwise, we're going to have to uninvite you from the stream, because only the people who like the streams really deserve to be here. But I'm sure you've all hit the like button because you all deserve to be here.
And also just sort of reach out towards that subscribe button and just sort of strangle it with your viney appendage.
Picture yourself driving on a long, dark, winding road, and all of a sudden, the like button's hand reaches out from the back, crawls up onto your shoulder, sticks its thumb out, and you smash it.
Excellent. There we go. Well, here's the presentation, folks. We'll talk very quickly about Amicus Productions and give you a little intro. You're going to get to know them reasonably well. We're coming back to them quite soon. I think in the next arc, we're going for them. But this is the first one we covered, so we're going to talk about them in some just brief depth. So Amicus Productions started off doing non-genre stuff. They're mainly driven by two chaps, Milton Subotsky and Max Rosenberg, both coming from New York and moving over to Britain in the 60s to really get their fingers into the film industry. They had a little bit of backing, but their initial efforts were kind of lighter comedies. The excellently named That's Trad, Dad, I thought was particularly fun. Sorry, It's Brilliant. Trad, Dad. They also did one called The Deadly Bees. There are some great titles in the Amicus run.
That's brilliant. When was that released? Is that? It's
Trad, Dad is 1962.
Wow. What would constitute trad back in those days?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a music hall comedy, basically. So we're talking old school stuff. Yeah, their first ones are just music hall variety comedies. Their third film, is the one we're viewing tonight, Dr. Terror's House of Horrors. And I just thought I'd show us here. We've got a still there from the set of Dr. Terror's House of Horrors. There's Christopher Lee looking absolutely amazing.
Dapper, innit?
Yeah. And a young Milton Subotsky there. Max Rosenberg always looked about 30 years older than he was, bless him. Both now departed, of course, as you would expect. But they got into genres, and that's where they seem to have taken off there, because they stuck. Britain was a good scene for horror in the 1960s, and it seemed to be the stuff that they wanted to make. They're not pushing the line too far in terms of trying to be sadistic or unpleasant, which is quite nice. So they had a fairly easy time of it with the censors here. And And the thing, although they did a wide variety of things, they're most known for their anthology horrors. That's a kind of formula they hit on, and they stuck with it. I'm going to read from a little bit here from Ivan Butler's Horror in the Cinema, which is the resource we tend to go here for anything before 1968. And I'll just say here that what he writes about them. In 1967, Amicus, that's Rosenberg and Subotsky, followed up their earlier short story anthology Dr. Terror's House of Horrors with Torture Garden from Tales by Robert Bloch of Psycho fame. The success of this splendidly macabre collection, together with the even better House that Dripped Blood, 1971. By the way, chap, massive doubt. I did not like the House that Dripped Blood. There is no blood in it. I felt shortchanged. The less effective Tales from the Crypt and Vault of Horror and From Beyond the Grave raises the question whether the linked short story method is not the best of all for the macabre movie. Some of the best television horrors have been 1 hour or less in length. In the famous Grand Guignol Theatre, 4 or 5 short plays, generally alternating horror with farce, made up a highly satisfying evening's fare. So a bit of strong praise for the format there from Ivan Butler. And let's see what they produce. Some of those titles there you just heard. Torture Garden, no sniggering in the back, folks. Scream and Scream Again, The House That Fiddled. It's family-friendly stream, folks. The House That Dripped Blood, Tales from the Crypt, and Asylum. Asylum is my personal favourite. I absolutely love it. Yeah. Now, not all of these are anthologies, but lots of them are. And there's kind of a format here. I was thinking we'd do Tales from the Crypt. We might junk Tales from the Crypt for Asylum because it kind of it's basically the same structure,
Right.
as Dr. Terror's House of Horror.
Okay.
Even down to the same. Sorry, guys, spoilers. Final twist is the same. But they got that format. Basically, 5 strangers meet somewhere weird, and the device gives them a vision of the future, or occasionally a chance to experience nightmares. And then in the end, there's a bit of a revelation. If that is sounding familiar to you, if you're thinking, hey, it's kind of a lot like Dead of Night from 1945, you're exactly right. Milton Subotsky was incredibly inspired by Dead of Night. He wanted to make that movie. And so he just stuck to that format. That's the general format they used over and over again. But you'll notice it's a little bit of an evolution on some of the stuff we showed before. If you remember, it was it Tales of Terror or Trilogy of Terror?
I think it was Tales.
Yeah.
Tales of Terror, yeah.
Yeah. That one came after Dead of Night. It didn't use a wraparound format. It's just Edgar Allan Poe story, Edgar Allan Poe story, Edgar Allan Poe story, and we're outies.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas I think what Asylum did very well is recognize that these stories all work better when you have a wraparound here to bind it in, to make it feel a bit more cohesive.
I thought you were going to say reach around.
Oh, no. Family-friendly stream, folks. Family-friendly stream. Honestly. Yeah. And there's one other thing I just wanted to show here because I noticed this and it cracked me up a bit. So you see this one in the bottom here. The skull is a little bit off. It's not an anthology. It's not their usual one. But look at this. In the back of Scream 5. Someone loves it.
It is. Hey.
Yeah, I loved that. When I was just looking at the posters the whole time in this scene, and I thought, nice that the skull snuck in. That was a nice choice. And this one on the right here, folks, You can't see in this screenshot, but that's Invasion of the Body Snatchers 1956.
Ooh.
And Murgu is dead right. Frame stories make anthologies click. Absolutely. It's the best way. It adds value. It gives a final twist. It's lovely. And the best format of that is kind of something we've already covered. It's Black Mirror's White Christmas, where each of the stories lent something that explained the overall frame story. That was wonderful evolution. So that was good. Why do they make these stories? I've said this before, but I'll just do a recap because I think people will, if they're new, they might want to hear this. Why is this format so successful? It's successful because you can get really big names in your film. You can get Cushing, you can get Lee, you can get Price, you can get Roy Castle, you can get John Pertwee, you can get Tom Baker at the height of their game, and you only need them for about 4 days of filming. They come in, they do their story, they do their wraparound, and they're out. It's very quick. Dr. Terror's House of Horrors is a lot more involved. Whereas for Asylum, they really worked out that format. It lets you get really big name stars in for cheap because they don't have to be there for the whole movie. They just filmed their little bit and they're gone. Like Sean Connery in Highlander, who filmed all his stuff in a week.
Man.
See, I watch other stuff. I'm balanced and healthy. Now, they did this stuff into the late 70s, Amicus Productions.
Right.
And then they sort of, I think Hammer was basically dead at that point, and I think them as a Hammer horror competitor, they sort of knew things were moving on, so they moved on. Subotsky goes back to Canada, and he tries to do things there. So he tries to hop on the Stephen King train.
Right.
And he did some work on the very underrated Cat's Eye. If you haven't seen it, folks, Cat's Eye is really nice. It's really cozy. It's got a great cast. And the lovely channel Good Bad Flicks did a nice little documentary about the making of Cat's Eye. Subotsky's also credited with assisting on The Lawnmower Man as well. So, balance it out,
Oh, I'm familiar with The Lawnmower Man. Again, that's a film that I've seen, but not in many years. So
No.
I don't ask me to reference anything from it. I won't be able to.
No, same. They also did the early Peter Cushing Doctor Who movies as well. Doctor Who and the Daleks and Daleks Invasion Earth 2150 AD, which I saw when I was very, very young. And I actually have on VHS. Yes.
I don't know how controversial of a statement this would be in here and in chat, but I don't really like Doctor Who. I never really. Well, the only one I really sort of invested in was Tennant's first run, and Eccleston, I think, as well, Christopher Eccleston.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, after when it sort of went Matt Smith, I sort of it just. But for me, even then, it was just something. Oh, there's nothing else on. I'll watch it. But I've never really been into Doctor Who.
Oh, I was rather into it when I was a young'un. I used to order the tapes on VHS from the BBC and wait for them in the post in my little village. Because I'm very old, chat. I'm very, very old. As if the early 2000s rap references didn't give that away. No, with you. They were making these Doctor Who movies in 1965 and 1966. I don't have a high opinion of them, to be honest. And yeah, Amicus basically wrapped up a little bit at the end of the 70s, and then, interestingly enough, hello.
Oh no, I've just seen a name under the Scream and Scream. Good old Vincent Price is there.
Oh yeah.
Why haven't we covered that one yet?
Oh, we can try. Yeah, so just to say, so they fold. Now, in 2003, there was a DVD box set released of their horror films, which I think had almost all of them. it's a 5-disc set. Hopefully, it's got everything in, and that maybe rekindled a bit of love for Amicus, because 2 years later, the name was revived, and they started making horror again. Obviously, it's just the name, and I'm afraid to say they only produced one horror, Stuart Gordon's Stuck from 2007, which I'd never heard of. Hammer also resurrected, I want to say like 2009, but Hammer made about, the resurrected Hammer made about 5 films, I think. Famously, The Woman in Black, which I thought was pretty decent.
And I haven't seen that one either. Is that the one with that's not Daniel Radcliffe, is it?
Yeah, Daniel Radcliffe.
Is that one? Okay, yeah.
Surprisingly brutal. I quite liked it.
Mm.
But yeah, anyway, that is your quick overview of Amicus Horror. Sorry, sorry, Amicus Productions. I took way longer for that than I thought I would. So, chat. I never manage it, do I? It's a 5-minute topic, guys. We'll be straight. No, never happens. Never happens. So maybe we should get into Dr. Terror's House of Horror.
Let's do it.
All right.
I'm just going to go straight off the bat. I know. Obviously, I'm assuming we're going to be going in sort of chronological order from the little short episodes, but I can't wait to get to Voodoo.
There's a treat for you.
Yeah.
Oh, Voodoo. I think one of the rules is like the middle one is often the strongest.
Yeah.
Like they throw you a nice comedic one in the middle.
I'm just thinking though, would that fly today?
Not a chance. Voodoo one was my absolute favorite. Well, I thought you'd like this one. I've got the German title for us.
Oh, hang on, let me try and pronounce this one. Die Todeskarten des Dr. Schreck.
Basically. Yeah. Die Todeskarten des Dr. Schrecks. So, and it's weird that it doesn't have the S on the end, because it's the genitive form there, so it should be. Anyway, let's not get sidetracked into German grammar again.
Sorry, that's pronounced Shreks.
Schreck.
Oh,
yeah.
Right, okay.
So that's interesting one. I want to know, but folks, how stuck did you get on the fact that there was a character called Dr. Schreck?
I'd love. Go on, guys, in the comments. Let us know.
How thrown off were you by Dr. Schreck? Did you laugh when it was?
I was expecting.
It's like EFAP were doing Final Destination and they couldn't get over the fact that there was an Agent Schreck.
It's like, hello, I'm Dr. Schreck, and I'm Professor Donkey.
I mean, obviously, in Final Destination, as here, that I think that's got to be a tribute to Max Schreck. Who played the Count Orlok in Nosferatu from the 1920s. But unfortunately, a certain swamp-dwelling legend has now rendered this absolutely hilarious. So,
yeah, thanks, Mike Myers.
Oh, how could he? Incidentally, what they called it here, because we've got Dr. Terror's House of Horrors, which is a barely justifiable title. I mean, did you notice that Amicus titles are amazing? The House That Dripped Blood, Scream and Scream Again. They're amazing titles. The German translation here is The Death Cards of Dr. Schreck. Do you think that's cool? Or
that's pretty cool. They should have just called it that for the English translation. It should have just been a direct English translation. Because I'm not going to lie, I said this to you backstage, but I kind of felt like this was false advertisement. They weren't in a house. This, for me, this was more comedic than horror.
Oh, definitely. But Jay picked it up too. Well done, Jay. Nice. You said it was more comedic. You know, something else we were saying backstage. I found what I needed to find, and I can confirm for you. Are you saying? I bet this is an X when this was originally rated in 1965.
Oh, yeah, you were.
And I can confirm that they rated it an X.
No,
sorry. No cuts required, though.
Off. No, that's ridiculous. It's a PG nowadays on DVD. No, I do not believe that this film warranted an X. I don't care how conservative the BBFC were back in the day. There is no way that this film was an X.
Well, if it helps quell the outrage, X in 1964 wasn't 18 and over.
Right.
It was, so at that point, the X was for 16 and over. And
but the implication, no.
this is why I cover BBFC history. It's an interesting perspective shift.
These
Even
people
though
are too
I'm 100%
bloody-
with you. This is it's not really trying to give anyone a nightmare. It's just
No.
trying to just I'd say it's more like giving someone a bit of a thrill. It's or like a little spine chiller. It's not really aiming to mess anyone up, I think,
No.
at any point. The closest maybe is the Christopher Lee story. Do you think?
Well, it was nice to get an Addams Family cameo in that one.
Oh, help me out. Oh gosh, yeah. I'm slow today. Yes. Tell you what, for folks who haven't done their homework, would you like to give them the summary?
Oh gosh. Yeah, basically. Okay, so the story starts off with, I think it's 5 gentlemen getting onto a train, and they get into their little carriage area, and they're sort of like, hello, and then all of a sudden this strange man, this strange sixth man, gets into the carriage as well and sits down, and they sort of do a bit of a round table sort of introduction. And when they get to him, he's like, "I am Dr. Schreck. I am the German, the strange one of the group." And he pulls out a bunch of tarot cards. He called them, pronounced it really strangely though.
Tarot.
Tarot card. No, it was Christopher Lee. The tarot cards. And then he proceeds to predict the future of each individual using the tarot cards. The 4 gentlemen, Sutherland, and the other chap, seem quite open-minded about it, but Christopher Lee's character is very skeptical, very sort of closed-minded, very like, oh, he's just a charlatan, blah blah blah. But yeah, so after producing the first 4 cards, he sort of mentions, oh, this is slightly what it means, and then it will go into the story for that particular person, predicting what their future would be. And then there's a 5th card which tells them how to avoid that situation from happening. I won't say what that card was, but I will say that they all have the same card. I do have an issue with the ending. I do like it, but I feel like it creates a problem.
Okay. It is, the ending is a twist that they use multiple times. So yeah.
But yeah, it's it does kind of create a problem for Peter Cushing's character in terms of what he's doing. So, but yeah, I'm sure we'll get to that.
Yeah, well, absolutely will. I just want to point out this is a lovely cast, and if we have a lot of American or just like non-British viewers here, it might be hard to appreciate, but this is, I mean, it's probably hard for us to appreciate, but this is absolute nostalgia for Brits. Like, these are some really beloved people that, passed long ago for us, to be honest. So one of the big names here is Roy Castle. Got some record breakers memories coming up there.
But yeah, do you know what? Sorry to interrupt. I just felt like this film was quintessentially British, even with Donald Sutherland in it.
Yeah, sneaky Canadian. Get in.
Yeah, I have to say though, like, without sounding like, without trying to sound too sort of far lefty, I should say, I felt like this was kind of progressive casting, like especially with the voodoo episode in particular.
Yes.
And sort of the representation, not I'm not talking like just physical people in it, but how they sort of represented like other cultures. Like
Yeah.
it was kind of, I wasn't expecting them to be so sort of what's the word? Not racist.
I guess relatively sensitive.
Relative, yeah, sort of make you know, respectful, I suppose, in a way.
Yeah, well, I think the characters that they meet in the West Indies are handled with respect, and there's relatively,
Sorry,
you know, and there's
I just remembered one of the bits actually, yeah, from that one. Brilliant,
yeah,
I loved it. I did, yeah,
like no one's a caricature, or no one's any more a caricature than anyone else, and there's
yeah.
an obvious line that some would say is deeply, deeply subversive, but we'll see.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see. Yeah. I mean, in terms of casting, I'd say one possible thing that you could say is risky is like the Peter Cushing's casting has some stereotypical elements to it.
Oh, definitely. I mean,
But at the same time, both of the creators of this are from that background. So I think they can give it a pass, to be honest. Actually, you know, speaking of, I'll just throw this out before we get into much depth. I did kind of feel like 5 was a bit too many.
oh really?
I felt the Donald Sutherland, yeah, it was, I mean, this is only a 90, I think my version was 94 minutes.
1 hour 37 I had, but then but to be fair, that had sort of like their own sort of custom outro, I guess. But no, actually, no, it just ended after that with the little 20, you know, little overlay, and then just ended. It didn't even go through the end credits.
Well, we get all the credits at the start, don't we?
We do.
Which it's quite lovely to see. It's weird to see. You're like, huh?
Reminds me of like the old Tom and Jerry's,
Mm.
like that old style. You know, you get it all out of the way at the beginning, which I think is far better, because you know it's paying recognition to the people that worked on it, rather, because you know you finish a film. What do you do nowadays? You get up and you bowl out as soon as, you know, unless it's a Marvel film and you want to wait for your 25 end credit, post credit, mid credit cutscenes. You know, you just get out and you don't really sort of pay attention. But yeah, you know, getting the names out of the way at the beginning, I say that as if to dismiss them, but it is quite cool to sort of go, oh yeah, no, okay, this is this person. Oh, this person's in it. Oh, sweet, cool, yeah, fantastic.
I think they also expected people to sort of amble in. Like we're post Psycho, and Psycho was a big move in formalizing when people get into a cinema. Like, if you don't know this, folks, people would just kind of wander into the show midway through and then wait until the reel started again.
Yeah,
like it was very casual. And Hitchcock's campaign around Psycho, just saying you will not be allowed in if you do not get in for the start of the movie, kind of is a move to formalizing this. But this is only 5 years after that, and I think they're still sort of expecting people to amble in.
Yeah.
So, yeah, well, yeah, that is a plot. We'll get into the stories, but I'll just say something else about this. Subotsky and Rosenberg, we've talked about a fair amount, the writers behind this, but someone we should really talk about is Freddie Francis. And I'll just check because I keep getting his name wrong. Freddie Francis, okay. That's the director of this.
Okay.
He came back to Amicus a lot, and this is his early move into actual directing, because he started as a cinematographer. He finished as a cinematographer. I'm just going to name a few films he worked on. So bear in mind this film, and just look at this lighting. This is coming from a guy who is a cinematographer on the director of The Innocents. He goes on to work with David Lynch on The Elephant Man, Dune, Straight Story. He worked on Cape Fear as well, the 1991 one with Scorsese. Glory with Edward Zwick.
Okay.
And what's the other one I liked? The classic one, Return to Oz. That really messed up kids movie. That was him.
Oh wow.
So this guy's worked on some really big stuff. He started with cinematography, and then he directs some absolute classics. The Innocents in 1961, one of the best haunting movies ever made. Absolutely incredible work. And he takes some of the skills into this, and ends up working with them a lot. He gets a lot of praise for his framing, his use of darkness. I'm just going to check. Yeah. So Matt Glasby's book on horror cinematography pays special attention to Freddie Francis, which is really cool, I think. And he gets more praise here in the Ivan Butler. Yeah, I think. Tell you what, I won't read any more from Butler because I think we possibly overran a bit. Let's just say Ivan Butler has lots of well-earned, nice things to say about the director. Yeah, that's a bit of a winner that I wanted to get into. So beyond that, you've done the setup. We see that they each get their... let's see. I think I have got a shot of their cards here because I thought that was it's so beautifully shot. Look at that. That is just such a gorgeous shot.
It's very nice.
Yeah. Oh, it gives you a little tease for what you're going to see in the story. Although they don't do it for everyone. They just sort of, I think they only did it for the first two, didn't they?
I think so, yeah.
Well, should we quickly talk about the first story?
That's werewolf.
That is a werewolf story, indeed. Yeah. Hang on. Oh, I also sorry. There's one very quick thing. Number one. There we go. I just saved this because 1965. This is a British train. Look how awesome this is.
Oh yeah. They are great. We've got like a like one of these old sort of school stations, not far from where I live, which has like all of the old style trains, like probably from this era and older. And yeah, the carriages are absolutely beautiful to sit in.
Yeah.
They don't make them like they used to.
They don't. This is a thing that always distracts me every time we do this. It's just that look into the old world where your train carriage has some genuine art on it. It's just, it's so gorgeous and civilized. I love it. I absolutely love it.
It's got like a random frame. Look, it's got a framed photo, like portrait in the, or picture, sorry, in there. Yeah. Imagine what would happen nowadays if you had one of them in there.
Yeah, no, the nostalgia, it is strong, chat. This is what we love watching the old stuff for, you know, moments like in Strangers on a Train, and they order a steak. They order a steak on a train.
Yeah.
I couldn't get over that. That's amazing. All right. Yeah, so the werewolf story. I didn't think this was a strong one.
Nah.
Okay, cool. Next story.
Yep.
No. So this is a lead-in with your man's an architect, and he's returning to the house that was his family home. It's a bit remote, you know, and even though this is 1965, we see him get to this mansion and a horse on a trap. By the way, don't let that mention of horses and traps bring any Welsh fans into the chat. This is a high intelligence stream. We don't want their sort around here.
Oh, it's a high intelligence stream, is it? What the hell am I doing here?
Oh, sorry, I couldn't resist a terrible joke.
But I mean, oh, gee, but we're not into the whole...
No, family-friendly stream. Back to the werewolves.
Yep.
So
back to the furries. Oh no!
Oh no. Yeah, this... I think what I'd say is a problem for this, even though it's got nice atmosphere, it's nice performances, it looks good. The problem was it needed to drop a lot of exposition on you. Like it got the early atmosphere nice, like he arrives at a nice looking creepy mansion, and people are just a little bit off. The grandfather is a bit off with him. The 18-year-old daughter is very off with him, very kind of cold and frosty.
Hmm.
And he's nominally there to sort of take some measures for the refurbishments, and then while he's and possibly knock a wall through, and while he's investigating in the basement, he sees a wall that he wants to knock through there.
That's right.
And he immediately comes across. I've actually got the end screen there, and I need to get the one earlier because I thought it was a weird moment, but I can't find it. Oh, there we go.
I think there was one line. There was one line I really thought. Oh, right. After he knocks the wall in, there's obviously the coffin's there.
Yeah.
And they're like,
yeah.
what's inside there? And I'm thinking, duh, body.
Yeah, it's body. Yeah, I'd say the problem with this one is, even though the atmosphere was nice, you get in there and it's just immediately the grandfather's like, do you know what this is?
Oh yeah.
And
Like they
just
instantly know.
Yeah, they instantly know, and they just drop some deep lore on you. And I mean, I can't remember it because it was basically just deep lore. Just, it's this person who was here ages ago. Hey, isn't there a legend connected to this? I was like, oh, crikey.
I've actually got the wiki here. It goes, yeah, Dawson finds behind a fake wall in the cellar the coffin of Count Cosmo Voldemar. Voldemar, the original owner of the house, was killed in a conflict with the Dawson family centuries ago. Local legend states that Valdemar would reclaim his former home and take revenge on the current owner. Dawson discovers that Voldemar is rising at night as a werewolf and has already killed a housemaid. Katie Wilde.
That has got to be a Poe reference. Wait, help me out, chat.
I know, right? I'm thinking.
In the case of M. Valdemar, is that Poe or Lovecraft? Help me out.
I was thinking more. I don't know, but yeah, which one is the rats behind the ball? That's a Poe.
Rats in the Walls is Lovecraft.
Lovecraft. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking Lovecraft when I was watching this one.
It is a guy returning to his ancestral home, and then a kind of savage energy taking over. But yeah, I think the trouble is the story really relied on them just dropping lots of exposition on you, and then there's a sudden twist with new exposition.
Oh yeah, daft.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually got the twist here in the wiki as well.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say it didn't work.
No,
because people just had to tell you big details of a legend, and then they give you a twist in a legend, and it's happening in about 11 minutes.
Yeah,
and it's a lot. But quite noticeably, there was a fair bit of blood when the daughter is killed.
I didn't like the blood, I'm kind of thinking, because I think we talked about this in one of our early streams, when like the blood, the color of the blood would be a lot brighter because of the style, because of the kind of cameras they were using, I think at that time, and it made the blood look pretty much like a light red, orangey color, and it kind of didn't work for me. But no, I definitely agree with you that this had quite a bit of exposition dumping going on, and you kind of have to, you kind of want to care about the exposition that they're dumping on you in order for it to work. And I was just like, dude, I don't care. So he just sits there and he's like, because I don't think you mentioned it, but he, out of nowhere, he pulls out this like random massive like cross, which is like, it's got silver encrustments on it, and he's and he's like, I'll just melt this down into 6 bullets. And I'm thinking, like, where are you going to smelt how are you smelting that? And do you just carry like the tools to craft bullets now? Like that you can do that like now? It's
stretching believability, isn't it?
Yeah, and then obviously he shoots the dog. What is a dog? Which by the way, we need, when we get to Creeping Vine, we need to talk about the dog in that one. But yeah, he when he shoots him, he's just like, I don't understand why it didn't work. And she was like, oh, do you mean these bullets? And then like that's when you get the second exposition dump with the with the shocking twist. And it was just kind of like, oh, okay, right. Why couldn't I have worked that one out for myself? Oh, that's right, because we've got like 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's just too rushed, and then I saw the melting down of the cross into, oh dear. I thought, oh come on, this is a bit silly.
Yeah,
it's an unfortunate one. I've confirmed it's the facts in the case of M. Valdemar is Edgar Allan Poe.
Oh, there you go.
So, there was also a question earlier. Was it Mima? Was it you who asked? The drink tonight is just a white wine. I'm playing it safe. I do have a Hakushu whiskey, but I probably won't get into it tonight.
Mine was a cup of tea, and it's now an apple and blackberry sparkling water.
Oh, nice.
Sorry, blueberry.
Can you comment, TCG?
Would.
Fellas.
Mate, I love that as well, because it's kind of like, what's an attractive lady like you doing in a place like this? Oh, mate, come on. She
had a very questionable outfit as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was an odd one. It was. It felt very rushed, including elements like your protagonist turns his back on the coffin and then it just immediately opens. It's like there wasn't time to slowly zoom in and keep you tense about whether it was going to open or not. It just sort of immediately opened. Oh, Fez, come on. There's some great Japanese whiskey out there. Come on. I mix it up. I was on the Tom Martin 16 earlier. I like a diverse range. So, oh dear, but there's unanimity over weremilf. I've got to move off to
Werewolf Manor. Do you know the thing that disappointed me the most about this particular episode, and I appreciate they wouldn't have had the time and all that jazz, but I am gutted that there wasn't like a werewolf transformation.
I don't think they'd have done it in 1965. I think that would have been a nightmare for them. You really didn't see much of anything in this one.
No. But I have high expectations with werewolf movies that I have seen in the past, and even Supernatural.
Oh yes. It's also we get the classic 1965. Folks, this is something you will always notice. If you're having censorship problems, if you're having budget problems, let's kill someone by just sort of moving the camera in on their screaming face. Very easy to do.
I got Austin Powers vibes. With that. I'm assuming you've seen it. If not,
oh yes.
Okay. Steamroller.
Steamroller. Yeah, an interesting start to it, but introduced so well by Cushing as Dr. Schreck, just getting in there and setting up the atmosphere of tap the deck 3 times and then lay it out. It's a nice device. Did we talk about how cheesily they came up with the title and justified it? I don't think we mentioned that.
No, we haven't, no.
All right. So just in case you didn't do the horror homework, folks, and you're wondering, why is there no doctor called Dr. Terror and no house in Dr. Terror's House of Horrors? It's because the House of Horrors is a tarot deck. Because it's like a little... Yeah, I know, guys. It's not very justified. And Dr. Schreck, well, Schreck is German for terror.
Oh, yeah, he does say that in the... yeah.
That's how they justify the title Dr. Terror's House of Horror. And yes, folks, if you are British and wondering, I am trying very hard not to slip up and say Dr. Terrible's House of Horrible, a early 2000s comedy making fun of this exact type of film.
Oh, how dare they? How dare they?
Yes. they weren't wrong with a lot of the stuff they covered, especially the tendency to have very buxom vampires. Gosh, I'll move on to keep
Wait,
it
what?
family
Bugs and
friendly.
vampires? Sold.
Wait until we get to Twins of Evil.
Oh,
Oh
hang on.
dear.
I can go one of either two ways.
Oh dear. Ingrid Pitt is in it from The Wicker Man, and she gets her twins out. So, but we'll move on. The next story is interesting. Like, we're kind of going quickly over this. The next person to jump on board, because the dynamic is there's three guys who are quite intrigued. Sutherland kind of keeps out of it, and Christopher Lee is just antagonistic towards Dr. Schreck, calling him a charlatan. And oh no, what's this? I'm so tempted to rewatch it, Fez. I really am.
Is it the Bugs and Vampires? Yeah, of course it is.
That's the title.
But mind you,
It's not unfair.
I mean, we talk about Bucks and Vampires. I mean, was it James Corden was in that movie Lesbian Vampire Killers?
Yeah,
I wouldn't watch that.
I'm gonna put it out there. There's no way it's better than Dr. Terrible's House of Horrible.
If anything, it's another reason to hate James Corden, because he's killing lesbian vampires. I mean, dude.
I know. Oh, shocking discrimination. If that cancels him, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, as we said, the dynamic is three fairly similar looking brunette guys are all into it. Christopher Lee, very antagonistic to it. So obviously you're more intrigued about what Christopher Lee is going to do throughout the movie.
Yeah. Do you know the interesting thing about that is I've been watching a lot of Darren Brown lately. It gone back revisiting some of his earlier work, and actually, really enjoying that. It's so good. If you don't know who Darren Brown is, guys, there's plenty of full episodes. He's got his own YouTube channel with full episodes. I highly recommend that content if you're into like mind reading and hypnosis and stuff like that. But he doesn't claim to be spiritual. In fact, quite the opposite. He will openly tell you he doesn't believe in all that jazz, whilst getting people to do crazy things whilst under. But yeah, anyway, sorry. But yeah, Christopher Lee just really, his character really reminded me of kind of like a Darren Brown-esque kind of like skeptic, questioning the authenticity, just when he was calling him things like charlatan and a confidence trickster. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's the kind of stuff that he sort of says in his programs. It just really reminded me of him. Quite relevant, given what I've been watching lately.
Oh, nice. I have a certain fondness for the old Darren Brown stuff as well. The sort of polite manner while slipping in a bit of filth. That's something I model my own stuff off.
Yeah.
Anyway, the second story is also kind of unexpected. Our source of horror here is a Vine.
I know.
Do you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. So, is it Bill is the one who gets his tarot cards read this time, and basically in the story they return from a family holiday, him, his wife, and daughter, and they find a vine growing in their garden. So Bill's like, I'm not having that. It's time to better chop it down. He goes to cut it down, and it screams. If I remember,
it does scream. It makes him chuck the shears.
Yeah, he chucks them away, and he's like, "Did you just hear that?" And she's like, "No." And so yeah, he goes. He tries again, and I think he can't get rid of it. So rather than going to see Alan Titchmarsh, he goes to, I believe it's the Ministry of Defence.
Yes,
this is like such a. And so a couple of scientists give him a talk through about the different types of plant species there are and sort of the varying degrees, because he's like, oh, this isn't something this can't be possible. And he's like, well, actually, yes, it is. Here's some Venus flytraps and some chrysanthemums to to prove me right. But yeah, it appears that the plant is growing intelligent and maybe has a mind of its own, and is quite intent on keeping itself alive. So much so that one scene, there's their little daughter's outside playing with the dog, and she's throwing a ball around, just like kid stuff. And the dog ends up going towards the vine and starts to try and dig it up or bury something. I don't know, but either way, he's over there digging it, and comes out, and the dog's dead. And
killing the dog was pretty harsh.
Yeah, I was well hacked off of that. You completely unacceptable course of action. Injure it, okay, but survive is an absolute must. Yeah, I still want to talk about that dog. Yeah, so he goes back to the scientists and like, yeah, dog's dead, and they're like, okay, well, let me come over and have a look at it, and I'll stay at your house for a few days while I carry out some experiments and research on it. And then he ends up getting killed by the vine, which is what you're seeing on the image here. And then yeah, the other scientists turn up, and they sort of plot to how to get rid of it, and then it decides to cover up the entire house.
I quite like that bit.
Yeah, that was quite cool. And then they discover that they're trying to figure out how to get out of the house because they're completely blocked in, and they realize that fire is what works. So they set some newspapers on fire, and they manage to clear a door and escape to safety. But then it ends with a bit of burning newspaper on the grass, and the vine comes over and just pads it out.
Yeah.
Showing that intelligent vines are concerned about fire safety.
Something you and I were talking backstage about is this is not intending to give people nightmares, and I think this is a good example of that. It's knowingly, I think, quite silly, quite light-hearted, and in accordance of the time, this will probably be something that's a bit hard to get absolutely concrete, which is why I try and be very specific about the time periods we address. This might look super, super tame, and you might not be sure, was this really as scary as they could be? And it's like, no, they could be a lot scarier. So when we covered films from 1960 that were covering a lot more, knowing that helps you look at this and think, okay, they could have gone a lot harder and they just didn't want to. Like, this isn't failing to scare. This is aiming for a certain level of, it's a bit spooky, but don't take it too seriously.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Something I really loved was in the Ministry of Defense, that they have the presentation on plants ready. And it's a small detail, but it's when the guy's giving the presentation, he says, just wait a minute. There it is. And it tells you this guy has seen that presentation hundreds of times.
Yeah.
And he's talked people through it so many times, and it was perfect. Yeah.
Meme has just mentioned in the comments, love the microscopic brains part. That made me chuckle. Like, he just looks in the microscope, sees some like wiggly things down, and he's like, oh, yes, it does have a brain. It's like, well, dude.
Fez has got ahead of me here. I was going to say, why are we getting a scary plant story? Well, John Wyndham's Day of the Triffids had already come out, 1951. So it was long before that. It was known there'd been a 1962 film adaptation of Triffids. So spooky plants had happened recently. And I think, when you've got 5 stories to cover, you might look at a lot of variety, and they thought, okay, cool, we're going to do scary plants.
All I'm going to say is this is what the eco warriors want.
True. Casting wise, I completely missed this and I'm kicking myself, but our dead scientist there, Do you recognise him?
No.
It's fair not to. That is Bernard Lee. That
Oh,
is,
okay.
you will know him best from the James Bond films. He was M.
Oh my God, yeah, he was, wasn't he?
I feel bad. I mean, I remember. Oh, I'm gonna get this wrong. Is it Desmond Llewellyn who was Q? I always remember
Yes,
Q.
yes.
I forget M.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
just thought
no,
that was
yeah,
that's
Desmond
kind of
Llewellyn.
cute.
Who was the voice actor who played the dog barking? This is what I want to talk about. That was
Oh.
not a real dog barking. You,
You don't think so?
no, absolutely not. It literally sounds like someone just going, whoa, 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 whoa. It's like he's even barking when he's like got his nose in the ground digging a hole. No.
Yeah. It was. It wasn't a winner for me. It wasn't a winner at all.
It was
But
better than the first one, I think, because
yeah.
like the exposition was kind of, you know, it needed to explain it somewhat. So I think the exposition in place, especially like when he goes to the Ministry of Defence and, like you say, he gets the old slideshow out, like that served a purpose, and that had a place in this short bit. But yeah, I just, you know, again, because I hadn't seen this film, I had no I had no expectations other than what the title was. You know, I'm expecting, you know, actual horror, and I you know, the second episode in, and I'm not getting that. So my expectations now at this point have slowly shifted, and probably at the best time, because the one after it, again, I don't think went anywhere near horror. It just, and you know, it had exactly the right person for that story, and it went full comedic route. This was almost like, was it Dead of Night? Because I sort of went in again with the expectation that, you know, always going to be a bit spooky and stuff. And the first two stories, I was a bit like, okay, yeah, they're not too bad, they're pretty good. And then you just get completely blindsided by the third story, which was just a comedy. Effectively just a comedy
the
skit.
golfers.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, by the time this one had finished, I was like, okay, that's better than the first one. But I think I know where the heads are, where the mindset is with these guys and what they're doing. Yeah, like I say, I've misled on the title.
It's fair enough. Like I say, Amicus, if they do something, they tend to oversell. You know, how much torturing do you think Torture Garden was able to show in 1960? I want to say 7. Let's have a quick check. 1967, nailed it.
Apparently, people are liking my dog noises.
Who wouldn't? Yeah. Oh dear, that Crufts guy.
That Crufts guy, wow. That collie guy.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're both just desperate to talk about the third one, aren't we?
Yeah, this was my favourite by far. Now my expectations are fully set. Now I'm kind of like, I'm expecting it, and this is the one with Roy Castle, I believe. Who
it is?
You know,
look at Roy Castle. Look at him.
Whose career, you know, he was a career comedian among other things as well. So yeah,
and a trumpet player.
Yes, indeed. Yes, that's right. He was. Yes.
Yeah. Also, is that what's his name? Bradley Walsh.
Bradley Walsh.
On the right, it looks like blonde Bradley Walsh. It's obviously not him, but
no,
he was really reminding me
I'm
of
not
someone.
seeing it. I'm not seeing it.
You know?
No.
Yeah, he's got that slightly. Well, not even slightly. He's very camp, basically. But yeah.
Well, he was very excited to get a free trip to the West Indies. I will say, was our Roy.
His name is Harold Lang. Is who he's played by, but yeah, I don't know him anyway. Do you want to do the overview for this glorious story?
Okie dokie. Yeah, so he's a jazz musician, part of a band. And yeah, this chap comes along and says, "Oh yeah, we've got a gig for you." And he's like, "Oh, where is it?" And he's like, "Yeah, the West Indies." And he's like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Woohoo! Right, let's go and do it." And then he jumps up and he's like, "Hey guys, guess what? We're going to the West Indies! Woohoo!" And then they go. Then it then sort of goes to the next scene where they're in the Windies, and there's a chap. I can't remember his name. Is it Sammy?
Let's
Kenny
see.
Lynch.
Sammy, yeah.
Is it
It's
Kenny
Sammy.
Lynch? Yeah. He's out there singing, performing to the people, and after he's finished performing, he goes over to Biff, or Biff comes up and he's like, "Oh yeah, no, that's I can't remember exactly what he says, but he's like, oh, that's right. It's something along the lines of, it's really cool to hear like music from the locals." And he's like, "Locals? What are you talking about? I'm from London."
First song I heard was Bow Bells.
That's it, yeah. And I was just like, oh, I love that complete subversion there.
Deeply subversive, but delivered very well.
Oh, it was brilliant.
Very funny.
Because
classic joke.
And that's, but the thing is, what I really love, and this is what I was talking about when I sort of said, "Oh, progressive," not in that sense, but it's just like in that time, you kind of would, if you someone from this age looking back at that age, you kind of would expect there to be some kind of stereotyping. And I'm not saying that necessarily from just from a racial aspect, but just the characters tend to be sort of stereotypical in their performances. The characters in this show, like the gentleman in the train carriage, they all have sort of stereotypical archetypes.
Oh, definitely.
And I just kind of expected the same for the Sammy geezer. And then when he was like, "Nah, mate, what you talking about? I ain't from here." It's like, I'm as English as you, mate.
He felt like a serious character, and it was just, at the time it was a good joke.
Yeah.
And it's nice. You know what? I'd have probably grumbled about this a bit more if he'd just been there and been gone after the scene.
Yeah.
But they make a connection and he sticks around and he gets to be an actual character.
That's
right. If it had just been a "gosh, you ignorant person" joke, and then you never see him again, it would be quite annoying. But Sammy's an actual character,
exactly,
who's very likable. So
he's like, "Nah, I'm not from around here. I'm a local lad from where you're from, mate." And they strike up, like you say, that friendship, and he ends up going back and performing with him later on. But yeah, so as they're chatting away, this barmaid comes up and she's wearing the ring. She's wearing this ring, and he says, "Oh, look at that large creature," or something like that, and like the whole atmosphere just goes dead, silent, and Biff, Roy Castle's character, is like, "What did I do something wrong?" And he's like, Sammy's like, "Yeah, you're kind of disrespecting their culture." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Look around," and he sees all the women are wearing like the same sort of
charm, I guess.
Charm, like either as like wrist, necklaces, like rings, that sort of stuff. And he's like, "Oh, they're wearing the same stuff." And he tells him that Sammy tells him that it's that they're all sort of it's a religious thing. They're all they all worship voodooism. And again, just another brilliant bit. He's going, like, there's a local ceremony that they do on the beach or like out in the woods. And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Yeah, women would be there. Yeah. Scantily cladly dressed. Yeah. Shaking them dangs. Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't bother, mate." He's like, what?
It's such a nice, funny story. And you know what? The bit I read from Butler where he talks about you alternate something quite horrific and then comedic.
Yeah.
I think this is what we're getting here, because we get the scariest stories after this. So this is a lovely tone lightener, and it's just Roy Castle and what's his name here?
Is it Kenny
Lynch?
Yeah.
Just they've got this great chemistry. They make it funny, and it does have a bit of a spook in it, but it no one dies.
Well, I mean, it's
nice.
It's
a palate cleanser.
Yeah, like I say, the spook is there, like in terms of setup, because he's like even though the temptation is there to try, hook up with some nice looking ladies, he's like, it really isn't worth the trouble.
No. I recently watched, like, I don't think this does voodoo particularly well, but I recently watched Angel Heart, and I
Right.
thought that was a really good depiction of it. Like, but what he's able to show here is, I think, a bit limited by our X certificate. You know,
Yeah.
like in terms of saying the scantily clad women, no, you
Exactly.
could,
Yeah.
they would have struggled very much. I mean, 1965, things were loosening. And also, chaps, let's check 1965. Who was our secretary? Who was making the decisions? Let's see.
Oh, don't know.
We'll open it up to chat. Chat will get it.
Okay. While chat are doing that, yeah, Biff basically ignores Sammy's
Mm.
advice and decides to go down there with the rest of the group,
Mhm.
and they see this voodoo ceremony going on, and there's they're playing their ritualistic music, and Biff's like, yo man, this is a banging tune. I might start taking notes,
Mm.
because he's like, this would sound great back at home. And while he's taking notes, he gets accosted by like some of the locals, as you see there.
It's like the sofa meme. I was waiting for the fifth one.
Oh, God.
You're telling me you weren't thinking that?
No, I wasn't. What the For a start, they're not towering over him.
Not yet.
Oh, for God's sake. Family friendly stream, Jesus. Come on.
It was handled so beautifully.
Yeah. But even then they're like, you can't, what are you doing? He's like, oh, this sounds really good. And he's like, you can't use this music. And he's like, but it'd be really good. And he's like, this has been in our culture for many generations or something, hundreds of years or something like that. And he comes out and he's like, oh, well then that's out of copyright then. It's like, seriously, don't use it. Oh, okay then.
Yeah. Oh, so good.
Yeah.
So good.
There's that little, oh yeah, copyright, it's expired then.
I'm loving the Angel Heart appreciation in here, and yeah. Oh, Live and Let Die, was that the one that did a bit of voodoo? Yeah, it gets popular occasionally. There's a Murgoot reference it, I think, as well. Serpent and the Rainbow. Murgoot, we are covering that when we do Wes Craven. Remember, Wes Craven nearly won out for, I think, our January topic.
Right.
And but Lovecraft Part 2 won out. But we will do Wes Craven. Oh. What do you reckon to that, TCG?
I'd be down for that. One thing, do you know what? The one thing I will say that I didn't like about this one, or that it could have done with more of, voodoo dolls. There was a distinct lack of voodoo dolls.
Oh, I've got you covered when we do Asylum.
Excellent.
Yeah. I'm stoked for that. Also, Murgoot here is playing me like a fiddle. As I've said over and over again, the Skeleton Key is unbelievably underrated. It is such a good film. It's wonderful. It doesn't get anywhere near the love. And the NREB is there. Correct. John Trevelyan.
Boom.
let's get this right. 1952 to 1951 to 1972.
Beautiful.
And it's something like that.
What a reign. One thing I have just noticed actually about Roy Castle's character Biff is that he has a tendency not to listen to black people, because again he ignores the advice of the voodoo chief, or voodoo priest, sorry, and he gets back home, doesn't he? And he decides to, well, he decides to play. I don't know. It's not. He
ignores
exact.
Everyone.
Yeah.
He ignores absolutely everyone.
But I mean, but he. So he gets back. He sort of makes his own sort of version of the voodoo music, and he plays it at a jazz performance back in London, I believe. And he's got Kenny Lynch's Sammy's there, lead singer, and while the performance is going on, there's like some sort of like, I wouldn't say storm, but like there's this like strong wind blowing through, and it just absolutely trashes the place. And then at the end of it, you've got Biff and Sammy there, and Biff was like, "Oh, this was great," and Sammy's like, "Are you sure about that?" He's like, I'm not doing this again, mate. I'm not risking it." Like, and he's like, "Nah, it's fine. This could easily be explained away." So he goes. He says his goodbyes, does Biff, and he makes his way home. Going past a poster of Dr. Terror's House of Horrors, just
well
just
noticed.
plastered all over the over there. You know, you get the old bit where Peter Griffin in Family Guy just goes, see, they did it.
It was nicely done in, it gave me a little bit of a flashback to In the Mouth of Madness, That's
Yeah. So yeah, he gets home, and the same storm comes back in his own house, and lo and behold, there's the voodoo priest is there, fully dressed out in his voodoo gear, and Biff's character, does the old covering his face, slow zoom in onto him. You're thinking he's going to get killed, and then all of a sudden he passes out. And as the voodoo priest gets closer and reaches his hands out to what you would assume would be end his life, he picks up the music notes, the pieces of paper with the music on it, and then just leaves the house.
Yep. Nice palate cleanser.
Go ahead. No, sorry. I do have to ask though. Right, here's the thing: that voodoo priest. Did he get on a plane like that? Also, where did he put his passport?
Don't ask questions. Don't ask questions like that. Yeah, I'm not sure how literally you meant to take any of that, and it just seemed more like a minion. Because I think the actual priest was very tall and gaunt, and I think this guy wasn't he stockier?
Maybe he could have been an enforcer. He could have been the Joe Metheny of voodoo enforcement.
Right. You know how he said that this was really inspired by Dead of Night, and Milton Subotsky really wanted to do something like that. I think that's the key explanation for this story. Because if you remember in Dead of Night, in the excellent Hugo the Dummy section, you've got a big musical number.
Yeah.
You've got the wonderful black singer who does that song, the Hulla Hulla Hallelujah. And it's just a nice little musical number that interrupts that. I just sort of wonder if the fact that they had this section as was a little bit of a tribute to that.
I don't know. I mean, without asking them directly, I wouldn't know. But what I would say, I mean, if it was, then very classy. Because I just felt like this had the same, sort of a similar energy to what Dead of Night had. Because when I realised what I was watching by the second one, I was like, okay, this is a Dead of Night job.
Yes.
Yeah, the third story, but then equally the fourth and fifth stories kind of drew back a little bit on the comedy side of it, and tried to have an element of scaries. I felt like in terms of the ones that tried to be serious, Christopher Lee's one was the best.
Definitely.
Vampire one I wasn't too keen on, but again,
no. I mean that's the one I think was a genuine mistake that didn't need to be in there, and the other stories could have all done with an extra couple of minutes. But,
yeah.
Well, I can move us on to Christopher Lee, because after holding out and sort of being snide and sniping at Dr. Schreck, he gives in and he gets his own future red.
I've just got to step out for 2 seconds. I'll be right back. I do apologise.
That's cool. I'll do the synopsis.
Cool.
All right, folks. It's you and me, as Kate Bush sang. So this is a weird sort of Christopher Lee role because he's playing things slightly effeminate, slightly snooty and snotty in a way that I think isn't natural to him. And I think from that, I get the sense that Christopher Lee, as this art critic, is having a lot of fun. Like, he's really enjoying being a very snooty, pompous guy, a kind of Reddit reply guy for the 1965 era. And he does a great job. He's towering over everyone. He's reviewing the artist's work here. I'll try and get the name here because, folks, I never remember any character names. There we go. He's going round, and his character name is Franklin Marsh. And he's going around snootily drubbing the artists that he's reviewing, just calling their modern art childish. John Dee would not put up with any of this nonsense. And he savages the work of Eric Landor, played by Michael Goth. Michael Goth, who I believe you would probably come to know best as Alfred. Alfred in the first Batman movies. Yeah, true. It's so nice seeing him young, I love it. So he's savaged Landor. Did anyone else notice, by the way? Anyone else recognize Michael Goth? You get to see a fair amount of him in movies of this era.
I'm back. Unfortunately, I didn't really. I don't really know many actors from sort of like the 50s, 60s era, so it's a bit of a. Yeah. Did you talk about the? Have you talked about this scene? Sorry.
I was just getting to it. He's basically dissed. He's Reddit reply guide. Eric Landor's paintings, and so he's set up with a little bit of a challenge, a sort of, hey, we do have a new artist, a visiting artist, and he's presented with this artist's work, which is very vivid, and he praises it to the hilt. He's trying to sort of show up Eric Landor by saying, look, your work is terrible, absolutely terrible. But this artist, his artist is so wonderful. And then they actually introduce him to the artist. It's a weird moment. I'll get that artist up.
Yeah, I was expecting a small child. I wasn't expecting the PG Tips monkey.
No, it's a really odd moment that's quite funny. I mean, it seems weird, but you know what? Like with Sammy dropping his, I'm actually from the East End, and apologies to anyone who is. That's not how you sound. His moment of dropping a joke, but then he sticks around. It's that kind of thing of they drop a weird joke, but then what they do with this moment of Christopher Lee's character being humiliated is really good.
Yeah.
They really made something with this. This for me, strongest story by far.
Do you know what? I got we hark back to Tales of Terror earlier. This one really did. I'm pretty sure it's Tales of Terror. Give me vibes about the wine taster. The Vincent Price wine taster.
Fortunato.
Yes, that's the one. It just gave me that same energy. Vincent Price's sort of like expert wine taster character, and Christopher Lee sort of expert art critic. Both just getting absolutely blasted by rank amateurs.
It's weird because Christopher Lee could have recovered that easily.
I know, right? He could have just carried on, be like, yeah, and what? That monkey does better art than you. Deal with it.
Yeah, literally. How do you feel to have been out-arted by a monkey? Get wrecked, scrub.
Also, how much does this artist look like Nigel Farage in that picture?
Oh, he does. Have you got can you do a Nigel? Can you do Nigel voice?
I don't. What would Nigel say? Well,
I've seen him on Cameo, and he'll say "epic poggers."
Epic poggers.
Oh dear, never get on Cameo. Terrible, terrible. Yeah, so it's a fun moment. As we said, what they do with it afterwards is what's much more interesting. So
Yeah.
Lee, after this, is humiliated, and every time he sees Landor, the painter here, it breaks him down. Like, he was a pompous guy, and he was humiliated, and now he just can't look this guy in the face, and he ends up retreating from him.
That's right.
And eventually, you see, like, it breaks him down, and he decides to go into dark territory. He does a hit and run.
He does. He does. And
Yeah.
actually, do you know what? This was actually pretty gruesome when
Yeah.
he runs him over, and then you see him run over his arm,
Mm.
like, and they don't hold back. None of that. None of that. Will turn the camera away. Moments like that. It's like full on, like crunch, crunch.
Well, it
Brutal
really is
stuff.
worth pointing out here. If you watch this, and folks, if you're going to watch this afterwards for horror, like late horror homework, we will allow it. Notice here, as is very common for films at the time, the violent moment will happen off screen. I think that's consistent. We didn't see the daughter in the first story getting killed by the wolf. We just found her body discovered. And frankly, it was quite a lot for Amicus to even show blood on the body. We didn't see the Ministry of Defense guy actually strangled by the vine. We just see the after effects. Ditto with the dog. They try and avoid showing the moment of violence, and that's to get by British standards. And remember, these were produced in Britain, so at the time, 1964, when they're making this, they are sending the script to the British Board of Film Censorship, and it's getting reviewed, and they are saying, okay, you can do this, but you cannot show it on screen, etc., etc. If you film this, if you show it, if you film it this way, you can get away with it, and if not, then we'll tell you to cut it. So they had to really sort of gamble that they would be allowed to show his hand being run over. And when they did, I found it quite shocking, really. It's a dark moment.
Yeah. But I think it needed to be shown from a visual perspective, just to see how, just to show how far Christopher Lee's character had fallen because of the shame and the embarrassment that he got from the guy, and and the continuous reminders. Like from an artistic and sort of visual perspective, you needed to see that. It would have been,
totally.
it would have been one thing had he run him over. You don't see you don't see that, and then the next bit you see him in hospital, and then all of a sudden he's missing an arm, or like he's missing his forearm. Like
you would wonder how that happened.
Yeah. So you needed to see it. You had to see it. I think it was key for that particular moment.
And yeah, then we're in dark territory, because your man wakes up, he's lost the hand, and because he's lost the hand, he's kind of lost the will.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. It just the bad vibes, man. The bad energy didn't stop.
No, it's savage. And then he shoots himself off screen. Like, we've just seen a very funny voodoo story designed to make us laugh. Now we go into some pretty dark territory. The guy kills himself, and then Christopher Lee finds himself haunted.
Correct.
Now, this is actually this was quite expensive at the time. They spent £400 on it in 1964, which is a fair amount of money back then for this moving hand prop. They ended up reusing it in 3 other movies.
Adam's Family.
I think in Asylum we see it again. I'm not certain, but they get their money's worth out of this prop.
Oh, nice.
Which I thought looked all right.
So is that? I'm assuming that hand's some like mechanical.
It depends on the shot.
Yeah.
So in something like this, that is a real human hand held in a kind of. I apologise, chat. If you put your hand in an ooh ducky position, and then there's a fake prosthetic wrist extending backwards at 90 degrees, so it looks like a detached severed hand, but it's actually the person moving their hand along with their wrist bent at 90 degrees. I apologize for Uduki, but I don't know how else to describe it.
Fez,
Actually, I do, but I wanted to say it.
Fez says, when you lose your preferred hand, I think we've just got an alternative reason for the guy offing himself.
Oh no.
Family friendly.
Oh, terrible. See, it deserves the X certificate. You can't be surprised now.
It's starting to make sense now.
Well, I like it though. It's the raison d'etre. It's a drive, and it's interesting because Lee had this drive to be. He was driven to have this authority, this snootiness, and he loses that. So he takes away the thing from someone else.
I'm just thinking
it's
all
sort
those
of drive thing.
Another way of looking at it is, now he'd lost his preferred hand. Those artistic strokes, shall we say, with the other one, just not quite the same.
Oh dear. Disavow. Yeah, he's attacked by this a couple of times. I found it interesting that it was multiple attacks rather than just the one.
Yeah.
But I guess that no. Disavow. I mean,
no, hang on.
We avow.
Avow
don't
that
mention
one.
it on stream.
First answers only. Horrorshow. Horrorshow
dear.
Kuma confirmed.
Get off.
Oh yeah, but it's like it's
oh no.
Oh, family
friendly, right?
Anyway,
I think it's
multiple attacks.
Oh no, terrible. Oh, chat's kicking off now, dear.
Oh, no fat brawl.
Oh dear. I'm so thrown off by that. I think it's important that it is multiple attacks. It's like it will not leave him alone.
Yeah.
Think of that Edgar Allan Poe, Black Cat, Telltale Heart thing of the real thing is psychological here. It is once again he was psychologically defeated by his humiliation, and now he's still psychologically haunted. So that hand might as well be a projection, but here it's physical, and the fact of him like burning it is so savage.
But it's just like the way he disposes of it, and it comes back. It's like those. It is like those sort of like those short stories, like where I think my mind's going to Goosebumps for some reason, but I know there's like one where they get like some artifact or toy or something like that, or whatever, an item, and it turns out the item's a bit cursed. So what they do is they try and get rid of it, throw it in the trash, and it ends up in the bedroom the next day. Kind of the hand in this had that same sort of vibe to it.
I think the hand doesn't even need to be real, and it might even be better if we realize I'm kind of inclined now to read the hand as not real, to think of like this is all psychological guilt, like the fact that he can just chuck it out the car, he can burn it, and it keeps coming back.
That's right. Yeah,
that to me is like this hand. It's all in his head.
Yeah, it's a bit it's almost like it's a projection of his own guilt for what he did. Idle Hands with Seth Green. Oh my god, yeah, what a film! And
Marilyn Manson, right? Wasn't Marilyn Manson in that movie?
Maybe. Again, that's one I've not seen in years.
No. I think Rose McGowan is. Chat.
Yes.
Can I get a fact check?
I think she is actually. Yeah.
Can I get a fact check on that? Was Marilyn Manson in Idle Hands?
Cast. Oh my god, is that Jessica Alba?
Oh really?
Oh my god, yes it is. Yeah, she's in it.
Goodness me.
God damn.
That's got to be early career stuff.
It must be. Seth Green. Jesus Christ.
Good shout, Fez. Funnily enough, so that is a season 1 episode.
Hold on,
And that,
it's got Devon Sawyer in it.
yeah, from Final Destination. That
Stan.
episode of Angel has Andy Umberger in, who is one of the only, is it like 3 actors who were in 3 Whedon series? So Andy Umberger was De Hoffren in Buffy, and he was an Alliance official in Firefly, and he was the creepy dentist in that episode. Was he a dentist? Was he an optometrist? He was a surgeon of some kind. I want to say Dr. Meltzker. And the episode I Fall to Pieces. I know far too much about Buffy and Angel. I'll stop grassing myself up now.
Holy shit. God damn it. I have to go back and watch this film. Islands. Anyway, sorry.
We'll talk about how this story ends.
Yes.
He has tried multiple times to get rid of this hand, which is why I read the hand purely as psychological. And then improbably, okay, we've got it confirmed. No Marilyn Manson in idle hands. Thank you, Murgy. The hand comes back while he's driving, attacks him, and he crashes his car. And is blinded. It is a karmic retribution. In the car crash, he's blinded. He can no longer be an art critic.
I loved it. Yeah, because it's the paramedic who confirms that he's blind, and as soon as he mentions that he can't see, you hear Christopher Lee just scream, and then he's like, but there's plenty of other things he can do as a blind man.
It's a savage ending. It's for me strongest one. It's the strongest one of the bunch.
Yeah.
And the nastiest by quite some way. And even though you don't see any violence done to Lee as a result of the car crash, when he stabs the hand, he does it off screen. Even so, this is dark subject matter and the deepest of the lot, really.
From a horror perspective, this was the strongest of the bunch. I still think, like, personally, my favorite was the third, just because of the ridiculousn's of it. But
it's just a good time, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just a good time. But yeah, I mean, this one definitely was up there in terms of performance and actually kind of sticking to the horror theme, I guess.
And I mean, this fifth one, again, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think we got much from it. Donald Sutherland reportedly really hates this film. We got a very young Donald Sutherland here.
We did, yeah.
Like, so young. This is 11 years. Well, I think when they were filming it, 11 years before our beloved Invasion of the Body Snatchers, So it's interesting seeing him so young here, but this story, I don't know, there's not much to it. Do you want to do the vampire story recap for people?
Yeah. So Donald Sutherland's character, I believe his name's Bob, goes back home to the US, and he's got married, isn't he? To a Frenchie, Nicole, I believe her name is.
Papa.
That's right. But then, like, there's a little boy. Is Timmy their son, or his son? I think I don't know, but
unclear.
Yeah, it's a bit unclear. But he the kid starts having these strange.
He's just a patient, I think.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, he's just a patient.
Maybe, but I think you're right. Actually, it's kind of threw me. Oh, that's right, because he's a doctor, isn't he? Bob is Bob, and so the little boy's having some very strange symptoms going on. It looks like someone's been playing hickey a bit too strongly on that boy's neck. And then, yeah, it transpires that there's a vampire on the loose. So Dr. Carroll goes to see another doctor, Dr. Blake, and shock horror. Oh my god, the vampire. Oh, it's Dr. Bob Carroll's wife. Oh no, the French.
Oh,
the
I didn't
French
see it
woman.
coming because of her immediately wanting to suck blood from his finger.
I know, and the fact that she got shot, and or the oh, that vampire, that bat. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
the bat. Do you want to see the bat? Yeah, the bat
But
effect. That
I
was
tell
good.
I tell you what, I have never seen special effects like this. It's absolutely incredible, especially for its time. You think about how Jurassic Park, right, back in '93, how the graphics show up, still hold up after all this time, mate. It's got nothing on this. It's got nothing on this at all.
Yeah, I've got
It
to
looks
say
like a
this is
freaking seagull.
it's waifu thought it was a cardboard
I
bat.
I actually thought it was a seagull, and I'm thinking when they started talking about vampires, I was like, "What? He was attacked by a bird? Like, what? Where do you get the implication?"
Mm.
Oh, but yeah. So anyway, Doctor Blake convinces Bob to end the life of his wife, and with a good old stake through the through the heart, as you do.
Off
And
screen, of
off
course.
screen, of course,
Yeah.
absolutely. And yeah, it turns out that the police turn up, and he's like, "Yeah, she was a vampire." And the police are like, "Whatever, mate. Vampires don't exist." And then Doctor Blake turns up, and he's like, "Oh, go on, tell him, Doc." And he's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." He's like, "But you gave me the steak." And he's like, "No, I didn't." And so Bob is carted off by the old Bill. And as Dr. Blake leaves the home last, thanks, Harry Maguire. He declares to himself that this town ain't big enough for two vampires, nor is it big enough for two doctors. And then he turns into a bat and flies away.
It's I would have liked it if she hadn't been a vampire or something. I don't know. It just
I would have liked it if she wasn't a vampire. He still killed her, and it turned out that she wasn't. Like if they had just ended it with Blake being like, "Cool, now I can crack on because this doctor's no longer suspicious." Fair enough, but they literally throw out the old "this town ain't big enough for the two of us" line. It's just cringe.
it's a bit of a punchline. I think
It is.
this is something we'll see in the movie horror anthologies, is that the pressure to tell your story, to set it up, to go through the motions and deliver a twist in about 9 minutes, it's difficult. And sometimes, as in this story, it's not substantial.
Yeah.
And I think one of the problems we're going to have with the Amicus ones, even the ones I love, are that it's too many stories. So you rush through and you're forced to sort of go with broader archetypes and not develop as much. Versus, I mean, I'll throw it out there because you've seen a few at this point now, TCG. What do you reckon the sweet spot is for stories? Is it 3? Is it 5? I'm trying to think of any that have gone beyond 5.
I would probably say 3. I'd probably say 3. You know, it's a bit of a, they say it in writing anyway, when you're in writing that the rule of 3 applies, you know, like I don't know, I'm just trying to think of something off the bat, you know, but this story is horrific, frightening, and twisting. You know, you sort of use a rule of 3. I think the same applies when it actually comes to creating the actual stories and presenting them. In a 90-minute film, you know, that's going to give you, you know, especially if you have a format like this, you're going to have at least, you know, 25 minutes per episode, where per story. And it gives the people producing those stories that little bit extra time just to flesh some things out, or just to make some things a little bit clearer. And you know, in particular, the 1st and 5th stories, they were they felt the most rushed, if I'm completely honest.
Mm.
Which is a shame, because they're two of horror's like most iconic characters when you think about it. It shouldn't that shouldn't have been the case.
Yeah, exactly. It feels very rushed, and the mistake a lot of these ones make is like, how can I say? You're telling a lot of stories in an anthology, but every one of those stories needs to be worth telling. And this actually, to bring us way back, this is one of my massive criticisms of the Midnight Club.
Right.
Is that I think I'm 6 episodes in, and it's meant to be an anthology series, and no stories that they've told have been worth telling.
Oh, really?
They've
Oh,
all
wow.
been bad. They've all been rushed. They take up 15 minutes of the episode. And it's like, this is clearly not what you're interested in. It has the bonus of each story is really about the storyteller, but it doesn't give you any new information.
Right.
So it doesn't really help. It's just like, oh, I see what they're doing there. Yeah, that's one of my major criticisms of Midnight Club, is the stories that it's including just aren't worth telling. Except for the one where with Rahul Kohli, you might remember him as Sheriff Hassan in Midnight Mass.
Yes.
I mean, he was I think his character name was Owen in Bly Manor.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's in for one episode, but it's a treat because Rahul Kohli is an absolute gem. Total bad pun enjoying Warhammer loving nerd. You gotta love the dude. Anyway, so yeah, that's the problem with this one. I think I'll throw this out there, TCG. What if they cancelled 1 or 5 and then gave the extra screen time to the other story?
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
Sorry, when you say cancel 1 or 5, what? So like they cancelled
the vampire
1, give
story,
5 a bit more time?
Yeah, they either skip the vampire or they skip the werewolf story, and they give the extra time to whichever one they didn't cancel, so they can flesh it out and do something a bit deeper with it.
I would still probably to stick with the rule of 3, to be honest. Towers of Terror did it. I think they had 3 stories, and they were all really, really good.
And that didn't have a wraparound, so I think 3 with the wraparound is the way to do it.
Yeah. So I'm looking at Jay's comment. That's brilliant. I am criticism presentism.
Oh, bless.
I mean, if you want an example of CGI film effects that don't hold up, I mean, Blade and the blood effects and that.
Oh, the Blade blood effects.
It's bad. I would actually, in fairness, I would say the blood in this film, in this, was better than Blade. So in that respect, that holds up better.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm trying to think which episode. We did talk about the fake blood and why the fake blood looks so weird in this era. I can't remember when, but you can look back in the stream archives, and one thing we talked about why it looks this way, the history of theatrical blood effects, because that's how cool we are.
Yeah.
For all the mocking you and I do of Blade, as if you and I wouldn't just sit down and watch that again tomorrow.
I've seen that. I'd watch it tonight if I had the time. I love that film. So good.
See, Richard Orritt's there. 3 stories. That's the way to do it.
There you go.
In fact, my favorite one of these, that's 3 stories. That's Tales from the Dark Side, the movie.
Okay.
That's only 3 in a wraparound.
There you go.
Ghost Stories, 3 in a wraparound. Oof.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, I think you're right there.
But then actually saying that, Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction do 5.
5? What, in a movie? But that's a
In a-
TV show, isn't it?
It is a TV show, yeah.
They
do
get 5 in one episode?
They get 5, yeah, and they are actually quite good.
How long are those episodes?
I don't know. I want to say about 10. It must be about 10 minutes.
What? That's
They're not.
so it's
they're
like a
not overly long.
50-minute episode?
I think so. Yeah. Is it 5? I'm sure it's. Yeah, I'm sure it's 5 episodes they get. Yeah, it's 5. I'm confident it's 5 now. I'm questioning myself, but I'm confident they do 5. But they normally they tend to wrap the episodes that they do tend to be quite concise and wrapped up nicely.
I've never seen it. I've just
Oh,
seen the
you are
meme
missing out. There are some horrific. There's some real sort of like actually quite scary tales in that one. Like there's one, and again, like I won't tell you if it's fact or fiction, but there is one where like this kid plays hide and seek in I want to say a wardrobe, and by the end of it, the kid, they go and go to the place where the kid's hiding. I think they lock him in there, like some like older brother or some kid bullies or whatever, like lock him in there. And then when they figure out like, oh, this kid's been locked in there, they go back and open up the wardrobe, and the kid's not there. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of other ones. They've got like horror themed ones. I mean, it's all goofy. Some are just like proper goofy, but there's it dabbles in all sorts of topics. But I'm surprised you've never seen it. I thought you would.
No.
I swear to God, I thought you would have.
I've just seen the memes.
Yeah, I actually had a Jonathan Frakes meme on my YouTube channel before I started doing true crime. But yeah, I do like Jonathan Frakes. But he didn't host the original series, the first series. I think that was a guy called, I want to say Dick Clark, but I could be wrong. But yeah, either way, I mean, okay, I would say generally, I would say a rule of 3. I'd say 3. If you're sticking with a single topic, I guess. But yeah, if I'm throwing Beyond Belief into the mix, I think I'd have to call that the exception, not the rule.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. It's fine for it to be the exception. I think by the end of this, we'll take a poll on it. I think we're probably going to come down to rule of 3. All right, I just have this still here because I like how young Donald Sutherland looks. It's just really interesting to see him.
I know, he looked weird, weirdly young.
But that's all the stories covered. So we get to the end of the wraparound. I mean, I think that one was not our favourite by quite a long way.
Yeah, which is a shame actually, because I was quite pleased to see Donald Sutherland in this. But yeah, it didn't hit the note. Yeah, it didn't do it for me, I'm afraid.
Yeah, so let's give a little recap for people because this might be a bit tricky to follow because there have been 5 diversions. The setup we got was that Dr. Schreck, with his House of Horrors tarot cards, will do a reading for each person. They'll draw 4 cards, and then the 5th card will give them a clue for how they can avoid their fate. But every single one of them draws the same 5th card. And he doesn't show the first 2 guys, but then the 3rd one sees it. And then they're all aware of it. And they ask him what's going on. The train stops. As the train stops, the lights go out and he disappears. Should we say what that card was, TCG?
Death.
I mean, it's worth probably saying because I know that there are people who know their tarot here, and I don't know much about it, to be honest, but I know that death is one of the ones that's film stories will interpret death as a really bad thing. Whereas I think in tarot it just means change.
Yeah, actually, you say you say that. I've actually got a colleague at work who actually does tarot cards.
Mm.
I should have actually asked her. She was in today, funny enough. But she actually did a reading for me once,
Ah.
and I think the death card actually came up. And she was like, "Yeah, don't worry about that. It literally just means like the end of something in the beginning of a new thing." If memory serves. But yeah, it's like the things don't necessarily mean the literal thing, but I imagine that for the purposes of for the film and getting their point across, I think didn't want to make it too cryptic. Although I will say when they're like, "Oh my god, we're gonna die," the guy closest to the door, looking at, hang on a minute, sitting next to Roy Castle. He gets up to pull the fire, like the emergency stop, and he's like, "What are you doing, man?" He's like, "I'm going to stop the train." He's like, "Don't do it. If you pull that, it might be the thing that kills us all."
I really like that bit.
I love that. I love
was
that.
great.
Yeah, I loved it. I really did like that. Like very clever, sort of like if you panic, you might actually do the thing. But yeah, the train stops. He, like you say, vanishes into thin air, and they're sort of like, "Oh, look, the train stopped. We haven't crashed and died. Haha, shows what you know." And then they get off the train and onto the platform,
Dun, dun, dun.
and they're not at their destination.
No. And you find out now. Remember, we were told the fifth card, which for all of them was death, is how they can avoid the fates that the tarot deck showed them, aka the stories we were told they were about to go into. And it's they all avoided the stories because they all died in a train crash. You said you had a problem with this.
I did.
Go on.
Yeah. Well, actually, I just very quickly before I do, I just want to comment that when they went back to Dr. Dr. Shrek's face, it was just a skull.
Yes.
Corny, but I loved it.
Yeah.
No, the problem I have with this is that the whole purpose of those stories were essentially predicting the future of all of the people in the carriages. So therefore, there would have been an air of legitimacy to those stories, because obviously you've got sort of like a little mini battle going on with Peter Cushing's character and Christopher Lee's character. Is he legit, is he charlatan, etc, etc, etc. By having the ending work the way it has here, this is there is nothing that they could have done to avoided this ending. It was essentially predestination, final destination, if you will. Which meant that those scenarios that we just spent an hour and a half watching would have never played out. Therefore, those tarot cards were gump. Ergo, Christopher Lee was right. He was just a charlatan and a confidence trickster.
Yeah, it's just messing with them.
Yeah.
I'm afraid I can't disagree. It's a cheap ending. Remember, this was inspired by Dead of Night. Dead of Night's ending, so much more powerful.
And Dead of Night was brilliant. I mean, in like the whole time loop situation. Oh, suit you, sir. Am I thinking of the right one?
Oh, yeah.
That's
the one.
That time, essentially like the never-ending time loop. Brilliant. Like, I don't know. It just, I get, obviously, I think they needed to end the film anyway, and I think it would have been a bit weird to. Oh, bless Marina. Thank you. Your son has good taste.
Oh.
But yeah, I just. It's weird. I felt like, Dr. Prepper says it, not a satisfying twist. I wasn't feeling it.
It's a bit of a weak twist, and that fun thing of how do we avoid the fate is something they should have played with consistently, and they had the time. Once the actual time code on my version of it was 94 minutes.
Right.
So this is very short, and as we've said, you know, there's a bit of padding in there. John Gorris is talking about the editing could have been punchier. Yeah, I think to an extent they're dragging it out a bit. I think they were dragging it out a bit. You know, they wanted to get over the feature film line, and yeah, I said earlier they use this twist repeatedly.
Right.
So I don't know, maybe we won't do it. I was thinking we'd cover it, but I think we might not. So that Amicus did the Tales from the Crypt film from 1972.
Yeah.
And it's the same director, you know, it's Milton Subotsky writing again. It's again 5 characters, and I'm afraid it's the exact same twist.
Right.
Haha, you were all dead from the start. Da, da, da. And it's just...
unless unless there's another way of looking at it, and that because it's what you said about, you know, Dr. Schreck just basically teasing them. Unless that is literally it, he's just pissing around them, because the stories themselves are so outlandish that they could have possibly never happened, and the truth is actually just that they died, they were dead. I suppose that's another way of looking at it.
I guess so. Yeah, they have better twists.
Yeah,
we will get to ones with better twists, I assure you. For what it's worth, I think The House That Dripped Blood has the worst twist of all the Amicus films. But
I
maybe
dare
won't
ask.
spoil that for anyone.
Yeah, I'll say, in case we cover that one. If we cover it?
The short is someone said all the horror happens in the same house.
Right.
And the ending is someone saying directly to camera, I think you'll have worked out what is going on here. And then explains it. And they're like, no, I didn't work that out at all, mate. What? And you're just left a bit dumbfounded, thinking,
right.
Really? Is that what was going on? What? Because it kind of seems like there's no connection. Anyway, I was very annoyed with that film. Although I did absolutely love John Pertwee wearing a pimp cloak and looking like a badass, you know. I can forgive a lot. There's also a really good Christopher Lee appearance in that one with a voodoo doll.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll say.
Maybe a nod to this.
We're bringing it all together. I want to say Cushing turns up in it as well. Yes, he does. Cushing is in a House of Wax story. So there we go.
Ooh, nice.
Yes.
you need to watch House of Wax if you haven't already.
I think I'll have to. I mean, I just want... That's Vincent Price, isn't it?
Well, there is that one. I'm talking about the one with Paris Hilton and Jared Padalecki.
I think we might get to. I think we could do an arc on just the going back and doing early 2000s remakes.
Yeah,
because I think we did a few, but there are so many more. We did, do.
But no,
I quite like them.
I would recommend that House of Wax film as well, and it's also got it's got
Jared Padalecki.
Yeah, no, he's in it, but there's another guy. Oh my god, he was all the craze in the late 90s, early 2000s, because he was banging some pop star. Oh god, who was it?
Aaron Carter?
No.
R. Kelly.
I said pop stars, not pop tarts. Hold on a sec. House of Wax. It's gonna in my head. Otherwise, Chad Michael Murray.
Oh, that rings a bell.
It's got Alicia Cuthbert in it as well.
Oh, I like Alicia Cuthbert.
John Abrahams, is he in it? I don't remember him being in it.
Oh, you know what? We should probably move things on before we get the late emojis coming in. And folks, remember, you can use your late emojis if you're a channel member. What a smooth shill. All right.
Boom.
Well, I'm pretty much ready to do the wrap up. So chat if you want to get your scores in.
Of course,
and let's do our closing thoughts and scores. I mean, TCG, how do you feel about this?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. The second, third, and fourth ones in particular. The third one for its sort of comedic direction, and the fourth one was my favourite in terms of sort of like the swift, sharp turn into a dark storyline. Overall, I think the first and fifth stories could have been binned. They were quite disappointing, given the fact that they're, like I mentioned earlier, they're quite iconic characters. Yeah, I mean, overall, I would recommend it. Like I say, it's on YouTube. It's free to watch in full HD and in Technicolor. So yeah, if you haven't watched it, go and give it a go. It is fun. I would probably say yes, 7. Do you know what? 7 is probably a fair score for it, to be fair. With a bit of burger sauce, with plenty of cheese in the middle, and one burger bun slightly darker than the other one.
Yeah, fair play, fair play. So I'll do. I think I'm mostly judging it on the coziness. If you come to this wanting a big scare, you're not going to get it. You've got to go elsewhere for that. You'd be better off looking either Dead of Night or Going Forward, where you can get something grislier. But for what it is, as a kind of the level of spookiness of a campfire story, it's a good vibe. We've got flashes of English history that just add a little extra interest to everything you do, like just the way the world looked, the shots of London, the appearance of old stars you're nostalgic for, the inside of a train carriage that looks absolutely amazing. They add value, but the stories themselves, I think, are hit and miss. I think very weak first one, weak second one, like not offensive, just like a bit not great. But 3 and 4 are where all the glory is. They're a nice counterpoint to each other. And frankly, if we just had those two built up a bit and one other story, I think that would have worked for me. So it's pretty darn cozy, but I think the fact that there's so many weak stories in it, I think I probably am going to have to bring it down to about a 6 with lots of cheese. So if you fancy a cheesy watch, this would be pretty good. It's an interesting exploration. It's very of its time, but it's not so of its time that you can't enjoy it. So probably about I think we did John Garris's 7 there, and we got a late 5 wrap burgers from Gatsby. That sounds about right. Yeah, it's somewhere between a 6 and a 7. It's cozy watching. You could show this to your kids probably. It moves quick enough.
Well, it's a PG.
It is a PG now. X-rated when it came out, Yeah, I think that's about fine. I'll go for a 6 or a 7. 6.5, let's say.
So just before we do wind up properly for the evening, I've just sent you a picture in Discord.
All right.
Can you pop it up on the screen for me?
I will. While I go to... and we got another scoring from the NREV there. 7 out of 12. So everyone's going for the 7s. Yep. I think that's fine. Oh, that's true. The mix of the burger. That's a good way of describing it, the NREV. Yes. No sauce, just onions, tomato. Yeah, I think it's fair enough. Surely some cheese in there. Surely. Right, I'm going to go to Discord and I'm going to get that. But I'm going to ask you something, chat, because I had an idea that I've been prompted to do. Something that would be fun for a random stream one night. Oh, we got a score from Marina. Is there 6.5? 6 out of 12.
M&M burgers.
M&M burgers. Bless. Yeah, I can't disagree. I think 6 and 7 is a sweet spot. I had an idea that we could do a bit of random stream, having a bit of fun. Guys, do you remember Choose Your Own Adventure books? Do you remember Fighting Fantasy? I was kind of tempted. What if I just get one of those books and we have a bit of a stream and I'll read through it, I'll get the text on screen, we'll actually roll the dice for the combat and chat. You decide what we do. Chat chooses its own adventure. What do you reckon? Is it a terrible idea? Tell me now. Do you want this to happen? While you get voting, I'll get myself on Abe Books or Better World Books and I'll find myself a copy of Death Trap Dungeon for £3 or something. We'll go through it. So you think that out. You get voting. I'm going to go to Discord. Do you remember Fighting Fantasy TCG?
I don't, not specific. No, not myself, but I am aware of the old Choose Your Own Adventure games because, like back in the day when I'm sure you remember Teletext.
Oh yes.
You know, on Channel 4, I think it was. They used to have like game sections, like you'd have like Bamboozle, Turn of the Worm, and they used to have like mini Choose Your Own Adventure games there, and me and my nan would play them together when like we were waiting for my mum to come home from work. Guys, this is Michael Goff.
Yeah.
I did not know this. For those,
I told him. I think you were off.
Oh, dude, I'm absolutely flabbergasted. For those who don't know, this is Alfred Pennyworth from the 4 original Batman movies, the Michael Keaton double bill, and the I forget that he's like
and the Clooney.
Kilmer and the Clooney. I forget that he was a reoccurring character in all 4 of those. I am absolutely ashamed that I didn't pick up on that. Wow. What a lad. Rest in pepperoni.
I tell you, these people have long careers.
100% best Alfred. My man was born in 1916 as well. You know, he was 95 when he died. You know, he had some decent 2011. Like, bearing in mind, you know, he looked like that in 1989. My man.
We're dealing, the director of this, 1917, like we're dealing with some vintage folk here.
Oh, it all ties back.
All right, folks. We got 15 votes. Get your votes in on whether we should do a Fighting Fantasy stream. I've seen people are very good fans of the old fingers in the pages to make sure you don't go to instant death. Yeah, we've all done that. I'll be honest, I used to skip the combat, but we're gonna do the combat. We'll use the brilliant undefeated rollerdie.net, the Murgoot special. It's gonna see us through. I'm sure we'll be okay. We're gonna do it properly. All right. I'll wait for the final votes on that. And otherwise, yeah, we've got a score out there. So I'll do a last minute shill, which is on the 21st. We're doing something special. I'm going to do a watch along commentary of Pet Sematary. So that's going to be on the 21st. So not our regular night. I'm going to do that. That's going to be a bit of an experiment. It's a bit of a prep as well for the Blockbuster project. So let's see what we can do. Hopefully it'll go well. I'm looking forward to it. So that is the 21st. So for that, you will need a copy of Pet Sematary. I'm sure you have a legally purchased one, and we're going to watch it and we're all going to click play at the same time. But keep the volume down low, okay? And I will just provide commentary because that way we won't get destroyed by the YouTube copyright gremlins. That is the 21st. But you also need to know about next week. Next week on the 20th. Wait, did I say 21st? Apologies. 22nd. 22nd is Pet Sematary. Okay? Saturday, 22nd, Pet Sematary. There we go. Got it right. I'll put the stream up. You click notify and you'll be fine. On the 20th, we're going to do Roald Dahl Tales of the Unexpected. So,
you're going to do the original version and not the amended version that's
absolutely
tailored for modern audiences.
Absolutely. Now, I hear that some people managed to go on Odyssey and find all of the Alfred Hitchcock Presents for last week, and I gather the very same place has all of Roald Dahl's Tales of the Unexpected. So you could probably find the episodes we're going to cover there. I will get a list out. I should also specify, if I didn't say already, 1989 version. Yes. Yes, Mergo. 1989 version. We're covering it on the 22nd. I'm now wondering where Let's Fighting Love is from, because I've heard that. That's driving me mad. That's a parody anime song. Oh, what's it from, Dom? I need to know. Okay.
I think it's from
yes.
South Park. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
There we
Yeah.
go.
Oh my god, that's one of my favourite episodes.
Oh dear. All right. So yeah, I will get the full list of episodes. We'll probably do 3 episodes of Roald Dahl's Tales from the Unexpected. You're gonna love them. I really think you're gonna love them. And I'm going to try and get some recordings out of the original stories, which I think you guys are going to absolutely love that. And let's see. Yeah, so it's on the 22nd, Marina. I'll probably do it about 8 again. I'll probably sit to about 8 p.m. UK. That's the time I typically do it. Okay, so that's everything from me. Wait for the list of episodes, which I'll probably post tomorrow. But that is all from me. Massive thanks to chat for keeping it lively and only moderately filthy. You know, we had some moments. I think we got away PG-13, right?
But just about, I think.
Just about. All right. Massive thanks to you as well, TCG.
Been a pleasure as always. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, it's always good. All right, and that is it for now. All right. Thanks very much, folks. Thanks, y'all. Cheers. And
Hashtag Shield Gang.